The Seattle rain hammered my windshield like nature's own drumroll for the disaster about to unfold. I sat in my Honda Civic, yes, a Civic, because apparently being a chief technology officer doesn't automatically make you wealthy when your wife drains the joint accounts for her business trips, watching Terminal B through the rhythmic sweep of wipers that needed replacing 6 months ago. Sylvie had texted me to pick her up. "Flight lands at 6:30, don't be late, Holden." No, please. No, thank you. Just commands, like I was her personal chauffeur instead of the man who'd been married to her for 8 years. I checked my watch. 6:45. Typical. Sylvie Noren, she'd kept her maiden name for professional reasons, was never on time for anything except her own schemes. My phone buzzed. A notification from Instagram. Sylvie had posted something new. I opened it, expecting another carefully curated shot of her business dinner or networking event. Instead, I found myself staring at a photo that made my stomach drop through the floorboards of my sensible sedan. There was my wife, arms wrapped around Derek Lorne, both of them grinning at the camera like they'd just won the lottery. The caption read, "Amazing weekend in Portland. Some business trips are better than others. Blessed, Chuck partnership, new beginnings." The comments were already rolling in. Heart emojis. "You two look so happy." Power couple goals. I sat there for a moment letting it sink in. Not the affair itself. I'd suspected that for months. The credit card statements for restaurants I'd never been to, the late-night client calls, the way she'd started treating me like an inconvenience in my own home. No, what hit me was the sheer audacity of posting it publicly. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. A tap on my passenger window made me look up. Sylvie stood there in the rain, designer luggage in one hand, her phone in the other. She was still smiling, probably riding high on whatever weekend she'd just had with Derek. I rolled down the window. "Having trouble with the locks?" "Just open the door, Holden." She yanked the handle, tossed her bag in the back, and slid into the passenger seat like she owned the place, which legally speaking she half did. "Good trip?" I asked, pulling away from the curb. "Fantastic." She didn't even look at me, just kept scrolling through her phone. Derek knows everyone in Portland. Made some incredible connections. I saw the Instagram post. That got her attention. She glanced up, and for just a second, I caught something that might have been guilt flicker across her face. Then it was gone, replaced by that practiced PR executive smile she wore like armor. "What about it? You and Derek look close." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, please. We're business partners, Holden. I know that's hard for you to understand since you spend all day staring at computer screens, but some of us actually network for a living. Business partners don't usually pose like that." "Like what?" I stopped at a red light and turned to face her. "Like lovers, Sylvie." The mask slipped again, but this time what replaced it wasn't guilt. It was something colder, more calculating. "You know what, Holden? You're right. We are lovers. Have been for 3 months now." She said it casually, like she was discussing the weather. "And you know what else? I don't care if you know. Actually, I'm glad you know." The light turned green. I drove forward, my hand steady on the wheel despite the fact that my world was currently imploding. "In fact," she continued, "here's some free advice. If you don't like it, get a divorce." She turned back to her phone, dismissing me entirely. In the reflection of her window, I could see her smiling again. That's when I realized something that would change everything. I wasn't angry. I should have been furious, hurt, devastated. Instead, I felt something much more dangerous. I felt calm, calculating. Like a switch had been flipped in my brain, turning off the loving husband and turning on something else entirely. "You know what, Sylvie?" I said, quietly. "What?" "That's exactly what I'm going to do." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I didn't sleep that night. While Sylvie snored peacefully beside me, apparently public adultery was great for the complexion, I lay staring at the ceiling, my mind working through possibilities like a computer processing code. By morning, I had a plan. I waited until Sylvie left for her office, then called in sick to work. First time in 3 years, but desperate times and all that. I had research to do. My home office had always been my sanctuary. 2 monitors, a high-end workstation, and enough processing power to run a small country. Sylvie called it my nerd cave. Today, it would become mission control. I started with the obvious stuff: bank accounts, credit cards, shared assets. 8 years of marriage had intertwined our finances like twisted cable, but I'd been the one managing most of it. Advantage, me. Joint checking account, frozen with a single phone call. Yes, I'd like to report suspicious activity on my account. Not technically a lie. Adultery was pretty suspicious in my book. Credit cards, canceled. My wife lost her purse. Better safe than sorry. Her car payment, auto draft canceled. The Mercedes she'd insisted on would be repoed within 60 days if she didn't make other arrangements. But that was just the opening move. The real game required deeper thinking. I pulled up Sylvie's social media accounts. She'd given me her passwords years ago, back when we actually trusted each other. She'd probably forgotten, assuming I was too boring to ever use them. Her Instagram told the whole story. 3 months of increasingly bold posts with Derek, business lunches that looked more like dates, working dinners at restaurants that cost more than most people's rent. And the comments were gold. Her entire social circle had been watching this unfold in real time. I screenshot everything, every post, every comment, every tagged location. Then I dove deeper. Her email was a treasure trove. Hotel reservations, romantic texts forwarded from Derek, even a draft press release announcing their new business partnership, which, reading between the lines, looked suspiciously like a plan to poach my company's biggest clients. That's when I found the real smoking gun. An email chain between Sylvie and her lawyer about community property laws. She'd been planning this for months, strategizing how to maximize her take in a divorce. The woman who'd told me last night to get a divorce had been preparing for exactly that scenario since before Christmas. My phone rang. Priya, my lead developer. "Boss, you okay? You never call in sick." "Just need a day to handle some personal stuff. Can you cover the client meeting?" "Of course. But Holden..." She paused. I saw Sylvie's Instagram post, the one from Portland. I should have been embarrassed. Instead, I found myself smiling. "What did you think of it?" Honestly, I thought she was either having an affair or had completely lost her mind. No one posts photos like that with their business partner, unless they want people to think they're sleeping together. Turns out it was the first one. Oh, wow, I'm sorry, man. That's terrible. Actually, Priya, I think it might be the best thing that ever happened to me. After I hung up, I went back to work. I had about 6 hours before Sylvie came home, and I intended to use every minute. I started with the practical stuff, changed all my passwords, set up new accounts she didn't know about, transferred my personal assets, the ones that were legitimately mine, to places she couldn't touch them. Then I got creative. Sylvie's phone was synced to our home network, a little network admin magic, and I had access to her text messages, call logs, even her location data. Not illegal, it was my network, my house, and technically she'd agreed to the terms of service when she connected her phone. The texts between her and Derek were illuminating, and by illuminating, I mean absolutely damning. "Can't wait to be rid of him," she'd written just 2 days ago. "Once the divorce goes through and I get my half of everything, we can stop pretending." "What about his company?" Derek had replied. "You said he's got those government contracts." "Already working on it. My lawyer thinks I can claim partial ownership since I supported his career." Plus, I know all his clients. They'll follow me. You're brilliant and beautiful and soon to be rich. We're going to be rich, baby. We're going to be rich. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning to destroy me financially and professionally. The loving wife act, the business partnership with Derek. It was all part of an elaborate scheme to steal my life's work. That's when the last vestiges of hurt and betrayal transformed into something much more useful: cold, calculating rage. I looked around my office, at the awards on the walls, the photos of projects I'd built from nothing. Sylvie thought she could just waltz in and take half of everything I'd worked for. She thought she could humiliate me publicly while secretly plotting to rob me blind. She was about to learn a very important lesson about underestimating the quiet guy with the computer skills. I opened a new document and started typing. Operation Ruin Her Kingdom, Phase 1. Sylvie came home at 7:30, carrying takeout from that expensive sushi place downtown. The same place she'd been networking with Derek, according to her credit card statements. I brought dinner, she announced, setting the bags on the kitchen counter. Thought we could talk. I looked up from my laptop. About what? About us. About what I said last night. She actually managed to look contrite. If I hadn't spent the day reading her texts about how she couldn't wait to be rid of me, I might have been fooled. I was harsh. Maybe we can work things out. Really? I closed the laptop and gave her my full attention. You want to work things out? I think we should try. Marriage is work, right? We both need to try harder. I nodded thoughtfully. You're absolutely right. We should both try harder. In fact, I already started. Oh? What do you mean? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screen. I canceled your credit cards today, all of them, and froze our joint accounts pending a full audit. The color drained from her face. You what? I also changed all the passwords on our shared accounts: email, streaming services, cloud storage, everything. I stood up and walked to the counter where I'd left a neat stack of papers. And I had these delivered this afternoon. I handed her the divorce papers. She stared at them like they were written in a foreign language. Holden, what is this? It's exactly what you suggested last night. A divorce. But I said we could work things out. No, Sylvie. You said if I didn't like you sleeping with Derek, I should get a divorce. So I am. I gestured toward the hallway. Your bags are packed. They're by the front door. My bags? Her voice was getting higher, more shrill. You can't just throw me out of my own house. Actually, I can. The house is in my name. Has been since before we got married. You might want to check with that lawyer you've been emailing about community property laws. That hit home. Her eyes went wide. You've been reading my emails? Your phone auto-syncs to our home network. I'm the network administrator. It's all perfectly legal. I shrugged. Turns out you're not the only one who can plan ahead. She set the divorce papers down with shaking hands. Holden, please, let's talk about this rationally. Oh, we're being rational. Very rational. For instance, I rationally decided that if you want to be with Derek so badly, you should go be with him. Tonight. Where am I supposed to stay? That's between you and your business partner. I picked up the sushi bags and started putting them in the refrigerator. Thanks for dinner, by the way. I'll enjoy it tomorrow. She stood there for a long moment, clearly trying to process what was happening. This wasn't going according to her script. In her version, she was supposed to be the one calling the shots, controlling the timeline, maximizing her advantage. You can't do this, she said finally. I already did it. I'll fight you. I'll take you for everything you're worth. With what lawyer? The one you've been paying with the credit cards I just canceled? I smiled. Good luck with that. She grabbed her phone and started dialing. I could hear it ringing once, twice, then going to voicemail. Derek? It's me. Call me back. It's urgent. She tried again. Same result. Having trouble reaching your business partner? He's probably in a meeting. At 8 o'clock at night? On a Tuesday? I pulled out my own phone and showed her the screen. Or maybe he's busy with his wife. According to his location data, which is publicly available through his fitness app, by the way, he's been home all evening. The look on her face was priceless. The sudden realization that her knight in shining armor might not be quite as committed to their grand plan as she'd thought. She tried calling twice more, then gave up. "This isn't over," she said, grabbing her purse. "Actually, it is. The papers are already filed. You'll be served officially tomorrow, but I thought I'd give you a heads up. Professional courtesy." She headed toward the front door, then stopped. "You know what, Holden? You're going to regret this. You have no idea who you're messing with." "Actually, I know exactly who I'm messing with. I'm messing with a woman who thought she could humiliate me publicly while stealing my business behind my back. And you know what, Sylvie? You're right about one thing." "What's that?" "I am going to regret this." I smiled. I'm going to regret not doing it sooner. After she left, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat down to enjoy my expensive sushi dinner. Phase 1 was complete. Tomorrow, Phase 2 would begin. I pulled up Derek's social media profiles and started taking notes. If Sylvie thought she knew who she was messing with, she was about to get a very educational experience about what happened when you tried to ruin a man who made his living solving complex problems. And brother, she had just become a very complex problem indeed. The next morning, I woke up feeling better than I had in months. No Sylvie hogging the bathroom for an hour. No passive-aggressive comments about my coffee being too strong or my toast being too loud. Just blessed silence and the Seattle rain drumming peacefully against the windows. I was halfway through my actual peaceful breakfast when my phone started buzzing. Text after text, all from the same number. "Holden, we need to talk." "This is insane. You can't just cut me off from everything." "I'm staying at Derek's, but this is temporary. We need to discuss this rationally." "Call me back. Call me back." I deleted them all without responding and headed to work. The office was buzzing when I walked in. Priya looked up from her workstation with barely concealed excitement. "Boss, you've got to see this." She gestured to her monitor, which was displaying Sylvie's Instagram account. "Check out the comments on her Portland post." I leaned over her shoulder and read. The tone had shifted dramatically overnight. Where yesterday there had been heart emojis and congratulations, now there were questions. "Wait, isn't she married? This is awkward. Girl, what about your husband? Is this why you've been so weird at book club?" And my personal favorite. "Sylvie, honey, your husband is friends with my husband on Facebook. This is not a good look." "How did this happen?" I asked. Priya grinned. "Well, funny thing. I may have shared the post in a few local Facebook groups. You know, the neighborhood association, the school district parents group, that sort of thing. Just asking if anyone else thought it was weird." "Priya, what? I didn't say anything untrue. I just asked questions. People drew their own conclusions." I had to admire her initiative. "What else?" "Check this out." She pulled up Derek's LinkedIn profile. Someone, and I'm not saying who, may have sent his business partners some interesting screenshots. Apparently, mixing personal relationships with professional partnerships is frowned upon in their industry. The beauty of it was the plausible deniability. Neither Priya nor I had actually accused anyone of anything. We'd just shared information and asked questions. Let the court of public opinion draw its own conclusions. My phone rang. Unknown number. Holden Ravel. "Mr. Ravel, this is Janet Morrison from Morrison, Klein & Associates. I represent your wife." "Ah, the lawyer from the email chains. What can I do for you, Ms. Morrison?" "I think there's been a misunderstanding. My client would like to discuss a reconciliation." "No misunderstanding. The divorce papers were filed correctly. You should have received copies this morning." "Mr. Ravel, I think you should know that my client has certain rights regarding marital property." Ms. Morrison, I think you should know that your client has been planning this divorce for months while conducting a very public affair. I have documentation of everything, including her communications with you about asset division strategies. I paused. I also think you should know that, as of yesterday, your retainer checks are going to bounce. Silence on the other end. I'd be happy to discuss a settlement, I continued. But it's going to be on my terms, not hers. Mr. Ravel? Have a great day, Ms. Morrison. I hung up and turned back to Priya. What's our client meeting schedule look like today? 3 meetings, all with companies that have worked with Sylvie's firm in the past. She looked concerned. You don't think she'll try to sabotage anything, do you? Let's find out. The first meeting was with Pacific Northwest Tech, a startup we'd been developing a custom security platform for. The CEO, Janet Kim, was someone I'd worked with for 2 years. Holden, good to see you. She shook my hand, but her expression was troubled. I have to ask you something, and I hope you'll forgive the personal nature of it. Shoot. I got a call this morning from Sylvie Noren. She said there might be some instability in your company. Something about personal problems affecting your professional judgment? There it was. Sylvie's opening move in the business arena. What exactly did she say? She suggested that we might want to consider alternative vendors for our security needs. Said she could recommend someone more reliable. Janet looked uncomfortable. She also implied that you might be having some kind of breakdown. I nodded calmly. Janet, I'm going to be completely honest with you. My wife and I are getting divorced. She's been having an affair, and she's apparently decided to try to damage my business as part of her exit strategy. Janet's eyebrows shot up. Oh, that's direct. I believe in transparency. The question is, has my work for your company been satisfactory? More than satisfactory. You've been incredible. Then I'd suggest judging me on my professional performance, not on my personal life. I pulled out my tablet and showed her our project timeline. We're ahead of schedule and under budget. The security platform is testing better than we projected, and I have no intention of letting personal drama affect my professional commitments. By the end of the meeting, not only had Janet confirmed our continued partnership, she'd also mentioned that Sylvie's call had struck her as unprofessional and inappropriate. The other 2 meetings went similarly. Sylvie had apparently spent her morning calling every mutual business contact she could think of, trying to plant seeds of doubt about my stability and reliability. But her approach was so heavy-handed, so obviously personal, that it backfired spectacularly. By lunch, I had 3 new project proposals and a reputation as someone who handled adversity with grace and professionalism. Sylvie, on the other hand, was developing a reputation as someone who mixed personal vendettas with business relationships. I was enjoying a sandwich at my desk when Priya knocked on my office door. Boss? There's someone here to see you. She stepped aside, and Marla Givens walked in. Sylvie's best friend since college, maid of honor at our wedding, and the person I'd expected to be leading the charge against me. Holden. She closed the door behind her and sat down across from my desk. We need to talk. If you're here to advocate for Sylvie, I'm not. She set her purse down and looked me directly in the eyes. I'm here to apologize. That was not what I'd expected. I've known about the affair for 2 months, she continued. Sylvie told me she was exploring her options. I told her she was making a mistake, that she should either work on her marriage or end it honestly. She laughed at me. Marla, I'm not finished. Her voice was firm. She asked me to lie for her, to provide alibis, to back up her stories about business trips. When I refused, she said I was jealous of her happiness. I leaned back in my chair. Why are you telling me this? Because what she did to you yesterday was cruel and calculated. The public humiliation, the business sabotage. That's not the person I thought I knew. She reached into her purse and pulled out a USB drive. This has screenshots of every conversation she had with me about the affair, about her plans for the divorce, about targeting your business clients. I stared at the drive. Why? because you deserved better. And because I'm tired of watching my best friend turn into someone I don't recognize. She stood up. There's something else you should know. Derek's been married for 15 years. He has 3 kids. This isn't his first affair, and Sylvie isn't going to be his last. After she left, I sat staring at the USB drive for a long time. Then I plugged it in and started reading. If Phase 1 had been about cutting Sylvie off from resources, and Phase 2 had been about protecting my business, then Phase 3 was going to be about something much more comprehensive. It was going to be about consequences. The screenshots from Marla were devastating. Not just because they documented the affair in explicit detail, but because they revealed the true scope of Sylvie's planning. She hadn't just been cheating, she'd been conducting a months-long campaign to systematically dismantle my life while positioning herself to profit from the wreckage. I need to make him look unstable, she'd texted Marla 3 weeks ago. If I can show he's having a breakdown, I can get more in the settlement. That's horrible, Syl. He's a good guy. Good guys finish last, Mar. I'm tired of living like a middle-class housewife when I could be living like a queen. There were dozens of messages like that. Plans to isolate me from friends, strategies to undermine my business relationships, even discussions about how to manipulate our mutual acquaintances into taking her side. But the most revealing conversation had happened just 5 days ago. Derek says once we go public, we need to move fast. His contacts at Morrison Tech want to poach your husband's government contracts. How do we do that? Easy. We tank his reputation, steal his client list, and offer the same services at a lower price. He's too trusting to have proper non-compete agreements with his employees. What about the employees? Priya's good. We offer her a 50% raise to jump ship and bring the technical specs with her. This is really happening, isn't it? Baby, by Christmas we'll own this city. I printed everything out and made multiple backups. Then I started making phone calls. The first call was to my lawyer, David Chen, a sharp corporate attorney who'd helped me set up my company 5 years ago. Holden, I got your message about the divorce papers. I have to say, the speed of this is unusual. David, I need you to see something. I emailed him the most damaging screenshots. How quickly can we get a restraining order preventing her from contacting my business associates? 20 minutes later, he called back. Holy hell, Holden. This is a conspiracy to commit corporate sabotage. We can get an emergency injunction by end of business today. Do it. And David, I want to go after Derek too. If he's actively planning to steal my clients using information obtained through my wife, that's tortious interference. Agreed. This is going to get expensive for them very quickly. The second call was to my accountant. Mike, I need a complete audit of all business and personal finances. I want to know every penny that's been spent, where it went, and whether any of it constitutes marital waste. Marital waste? Spending marital assets on an extramarital affair, hotel rooms, dinners, gifts. If she spent our money on her boyfriend, I want it documented. The third call was to Priya. I need you to change all our system passwords immediately. Also, I want you to document every security protocol we have in place. If anyone tries to poach our employees or steal our client information, I want to be able to prove exactly what was taken. Boss, is everything okay? Everything's about to be much better. But first, it's going to get messy. By 5 o'clock, the injunction was in place. Sylvie was legally prohibited from contacting any of my business associates or discussing my company with potential competitors. Violation would result in immediate contempt of court charges. By 6 o'clock, my accountant had identified over $15,000 in marital assets that Sylvie had spent on her affair. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, a weekend trip to Vancouver, even a piece of jewelry she'd claimed was a networking expense. By 7 o'clock, David had filed a lawsuit against Derek for conspiracy to interfere with business relationships, demanding damages and injunctive relief. I was reviewing the paperwork when my phone rang. Sylvie. What the hell do you think you're doing? Good evening to you too, dear. How's the hotel? You can't just sue people because you're having a temper tantrum. Actually, I can sue people when they conspire to steal my business. It's called tortious interference, and it's very illegal. That's not what happened. Really? Because I have text messages that suggest otherwise. Would you like me to read them to you? Silence. Here's one of my favorites. Derek says once we go public, we need to move fast. His contacts at Morrison Tech want to poach your husband's government contracts. Where did you get that? Does it matter? The point is, I have documentation of everything. Your affair, your plans to sabotage my business, even your strategy to steal my employees. I paused. Did you really think you could outsmart me, Sylvie? I solve complex problems for a living. You just became a very solvable problem. You're insane. No, I'm thorough. There's a difference. I pulled up another document on my computer. Speaking of thorough, you should know that I've filed a motion to recover the $15,000 in marital assets you spent on your affair. Hotel rooms aren't cheap, apparently. You can't prove that. Credit card statements are remarkably detailed these days. Date, time, location, amount. Cross-referenced with your social media posts and Derek's travel schedule, it paints a very clear picture. I could hear her breathing heavily on the other end of the line. What do you want? She asked finally. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. For months, you've been treating me like an obstacle to be removed. Now you get to find out what happens when the obstacle fights back. This is about more than the affair, isn't it? You're absolutely right. This is about you trying to destroy my business. This is about you planning to steal my life's work while pretending to love me. This is about you thinking I was too weak or too stupid to fight back. Holden, I'm not done. Tomorrow morning, every person in your professional network is going to receive a very detailed email about your business practices. How you mix personal relationships with professional obligations. How you use confidential information obtained through marriage to benefit your clients. How you plan corporate sabotage while conducting extramarital affairs. You wouldn't. Try me. I hung up and went back to work. Phase 3 was just getting started. The email went out at 9 a.m. sharp to every contact in Sylvie's professional network. Not a rant or an emotional outburst, but a carefully crafted, professionally worded message that laid out the facts with surgical precision. Dear colleagues, I am writing to inform you of recent events that may affect your professional relationships with my wife, Sylvie Noren, and her business partner, Derek Lorne. As you may be aware from Ms. Noren's recent social media posts, she and Mr. Lorne have entered into both a personal and professional relationship, while Ms. Noren remains legally married to me. While personal relationships are private matters, the professional implications of this situation require disclosure. Through legal discovery, I have obtained evidence that Ms. Noren has used confidential information obtained through our marriage to benefit Mr. Lorne's business interests, including client lists, project details, and competitive intelligence. Additionally, both parties have engaged in a coordinated effort to damage my business relationships while positioning themselves to profit from that damage. I have filed legal actions for corporate sabotage and tortious interference. Court documents are attached for your review. I believe in transparency in professional relationships. Make your own judgments accordingly. Sincerely, Holden Ravel. The response was immediate and devastating. By 10 a.m., Sylvie's boss had called an emergency meeting. By 11 a.m., she was suspended pending an internal investigation. By noon, 3 of her biggest clients had terminated their contracts, citing concerns about professional ethics and confidentiality. Derek fared even worse. His business partners called an emergency board meeting after receiving my email. By 2 p.m., he was out, bought out at a fraction of his equity stake to avoid the scandal of a public lawsuit. But the real masterpiece was what happened on social media. Sylvie's Instagram post from Portland, the one that had started this whole mess, became ground zero for a social media hurricane. The comments section turned into a public tribunal, with friends, colleagues, and acquaintances weighing in on her choices. This is so unprofessional. Girl, you're married. What are you doing? I heard she's been planning this for months while lying to her husband. My company just dropped her after getting that email from her husband. Apparently she was sharing confidential client information. Derek Lorne is married too. This is messy. The best part was that I didn't have to say a word. I'd simply provided facts and let the court of public opinion render its verdict. My phone had been ringing all day. Reporters from the local business journal wanting to know about the lawsuit, colleagues expressing support, even a few new client inquiries from companies that had been impressed by my professional handling of a difficult situation. At 4 p.m., Marla called. Holden, I just wanted to check on you. This whole thing has gotten pretty intense. How's Sylvie handling it? Not well. She's been calling everyone she knows, trying to do damage control. But honestly, I think she's making it worse. She's blaming everyone but herself. And Derek? Radio silence. Word is his wife kicked him out and his business partners bought him out. He's basically disappeared. I felt a moment of something that might have been sympathy. Then I remembered the text messages about stealing my clients and employees, and the feeling passed. Marla, can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you really give me those screenshots? I mean, I'm grateful, but Sylvie was your best friend. She was quiet for a long moment. Do you remember our wedding? Yours and Sylvie's? Of course. I gave a speech at the reception. I talked about how you two were perfect for each other, how you balanced each other out. She was ambitious and driven. You were steady and loyal. I really believe that. What changed? She did. Or maybe she just stopped pretending to be someone she wasn't. The woman who planned what she did to you. That's not someone I can be friends with. After we hung up, I sat in my office looking out at the Seattle skyline. 6 days ago, I'd been a guy whose wife was cheating on him. Today, I was a guy who'd systematically dismantled his wife's life and career while protecting his own. I should have felt guilty, or at least conflicted. Instead, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: peace. My computer chimed with a new email. It was from Janet Kim at Pacific Northwest Tech. Holden, I wanted to reach out after everything that's happened this week. I have to say, I'm impressed by how you've handled this situation. Professional, thorough, and decisive. We'd like to discuss expanding our contract with your company. Are you available for lunch tomorrow? I smiled and started typing my response. Phase 3 was complete, but apparently Phase 4 was going to be about rebuilding, and it was going to be bigger and better than anything I'd had before. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to meet, tonight. This has gone far enough. I didn't recognize the number, but I had a pretty good idea who it was from. I texted back, Pier 70, 8 p.m., come alone. Time for the final confrontation. Pier 70 was empty at 8 p.m., just the water, the skyline, and me waiting. Sylvie arrived late, looking nothing like the polished PR executive I'd married. She looked worn out. You came, she said. You asked. I didn't think you would, after everything. She took a breath. I've lost my job, my clients, my friends. Derek won't talk to me. I'm in a motel. Please, call off the lawyers. What do you want, Sylvie? To stop all this, I need a chance to rebuild. I stepped closer. Do you remember what you told me last Sunday? That if I didn't like you sleeping with Derek, I should get a divorce. You said it like I'd never stand up for myself. I was angry. No. You were confident I'd do nothing. 6 months ago, if you'd asked for a divorce, I would have given you half and wished you well. Then why? Because you tried to humiliate me. You tried to steal my business and make me look weak. You turned our marriage into a war I just refused to lose. She looked at the water. I felt trapped. Derek made me feel powerful. So you destroyed me to feel better? I didn't think you'd fight back. Because you thought I was weak. Because I thought you loved me enough to let me go quietly. I laughed once. Love isn't being a doormat. You chose Derek, the affair, the public humiliation, and the attempt to take my company. These are the consequences. So you're going to destroy me? I'm not destroying you. I'm just not shielding you anymore. She wiped her eyes. What now? You rebuild, like I had to. Will you drop the lawsuits? I'll drop the financial ones if you sign a strict NDA, no talking about my business or my life, ever. And the divorce? As planned. You get what the law assigns, minus what you spent on the affair. That's fair, she whispered. It's generous. Silence settled between us. 8 years reduced to terms and signatures. I did love you, she said. No, you loved the idea of me. If you'd loved me, you would have talked to me before blowing everything up. You're right. She started to walk away, then turned. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You deserved better. Yes, I did. After she left, I stood on the pier, realizing that a week ago I'd been a cheated-on husband. Now I was someone who'd taken his life back. Tomorrow I'd return to a peaceful home and a thriving business. No more walking on eggshells. No more letting someone else define my story. I deleted Sylvie's contact and headed home. The rain had finally stopped. The sky was clear,